Welcome to the With You Rugby Podcast, designed to give you an in-depth look at the United States Rugby Foundation, including our grant programs and recipients, fundraisers, events, and much more. Now let's get started. Hello, everyone. I'm Brian Vizard, President of the United States Rugby Foundation, and welcome to another one of our With You podcast as we get closer to our 2021 U.S. Rugby Hall of Fame induction ceremony sponsored by Penn Mutual. We thought it'd be a nice idea to get to know this year's inductees and special award recipients just a little bit better. And today we're pretty honored and pleased to welcome in the most capped Eagle ever and a 2021 U.S. Rugby Hall of Fame inductee, Todd Clever. Welcome, Todd.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, that's got a nice ring to it, huh? The most capped Eagle ever?
Oh, for now. I mean, it's one of those records that is going to get broken, and I'm excited for it to get broken because it just shows the level of games that are going to be played as the Eagles. And the more games that we play, the better rankings that we're going to get, the better the team's going to get, the closer to that quarterfinal, semifinal, and World Cup champions it is. So I'm excited for it to get broken.
Yeah, Todd, one of the things we like to ask our inductees is, where'd you grow up and what sports did you play as a kid?
I grew up in Northern California in San Jose, and I played a handful of sports. I swam, I played soccer, baseball, I skateboarded, loved the beach. So I was a very active kid, and then started playing rugby when I was about 14, 15 years old. Was
that in high school or club rugby?
It was club rugby, but it was part of high school. Yeah. I actually followed my brother's footsteps. He played American football and rugby, and I saw sort of the mental side and approach for American football, and I knew that sport wasn't really for me. So then I kind of followed his footsteps and started playing rugby in my sophomore year in high school.
Well, you're getting noticed early on. You made the numerous U.S. age grade teams. Tell us about some of the experiences, some of those teams you're on, and some of those experiences you enjoyed U.S. age grade rugby.
Yeah, I mean, I played rugby for about 2 years, and then I got an opportunity to try out for the USA Under-19 team, and then made it. So when I was 17, I toured with the USA Under-19s to Australia, and that just really opened up my vision on how big rugby was. I mean, before that, I didn't even know about professional rugby and high performance, and so living at the that mindset and high performance and an Olympian, and because we trained at the Australian Institute of Sport, and just really we saw a Tri-Nations match between South Africa and Australia, and really enjoyed sitting in front of 98,000 people and just I see myself being on that field. So those were when the goals were made.
You're a 3-time collegiate All-American at University of Nevada. Were you an Eagle then, or was that after school?
So my first year at school, so actually when I was 18, I actually wanted to move overseas and join an academy in Scotland. And my parents, urged me to go to university for 1 year and then sort of make the decision from that. So I did, and again, followed my brother's footsteps and went to University of Nevada, Reno. And I'm glad I did that 1 year. Really just opened up the gates for the national team. So I played in the final, that I was eligible for USA Under-19 in 2002. From there, I made the College All-Americans. From there, I made Eagles camp, and then all within a year, just kind of in that Rugby World Cup squad for 2003. So it was a very busy year, and was just a lot of work and dedication, and kind of separating myself from all social stuff and family stuff and friend stuff, and just knowing I put all my goals and then ultimately put all my eggs in one basket and wanted to live that dream.
Now, who broke the news to you that you made the Eagles squad, and what was that occasion like?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was. I'm trying to think when it was. It was before like any of the national team coaches or administration had my cell phone number, so they called my home phone and told my parents. And my parents called me and said, "Hey, have you heard from them?" I said, "No, what are you talking about?" And then they ended up telling me, Oh, you're invited to the Eagles camp, and this is sort of you're doing the final Rugby World Cup qualifiers, and you do well, you're going to be in that World Cup squad. So being 19 years old, getting that call from your parents, it was amazing.
Did you ever think at that time you'd be representing your country for the next 15 years?
No, I mean, I didn't. It just seemed how everything kind of came in so fast, and success went really hard. I just kind of, it was all the Dan Lyles and the Dave Hodges and all those guys where it's like, bigger than life characters in my role. But it was like, that's how I need to compete. That's how I need to, set myself up with, and ultimately, year after year, goals kept on changing, kept developing, and 15 years later, was finally able to hang up the boots happily.
Now you, again, so many tours, so many years, so many games playing with the U.S. So is there any one or two or three moments that really stand out throughout that whole career?
Oh, I mean, there's a list. I mean, I could write a book of how many great times there were and great tours. Stands out as sort of captaining the national team at the World Cup in New Zealand. I lived there for a couple of years beforehand, so being with the old coaches and teammates and old friends was really great. First World Cup game start was against England in France, so that was really amazing. But earning first cap, my last game, in the hometown, and having all my friends and family, that was a great way to bow out and call it there. So I mean, there's just so many.
And you took part in 3 World Cups. Was there any one of those that was a favorite of yours, or any memories that stood out from the World Cups?
I mean, I can take a handful from each of them. I mean, I was 20 years old when I went to Australia, and it was more of holding tackle bags and learning and how it is to be a professional and what it is to play at the biggest stage. So, but I also had a lot of fun, getting to know some of the other guys from other teams. 2007 was when I really broke through, and a lot of opportunities came from that tournament, with contract offers in France and England, which I ultimately took one in South Africa, because that was one of my biggest goals, was to play Super Rugby. And then, captaining the team in New Zealand was something special, just because rugby in New Zealand is a way of life, and to be on the world stage at the with rugby being so popular in New Zealand, it was great.
Now, you mentioned some of these relationships you had with other players. Was there an opposition throughout the years, whether it's your opposite or just an opponent, that was maybe your toughest foe?
Yeah, I mean, I when I was growing up and playing, I did a lot of film, and so I got to know players and how they played, and take my game over through their game. So I mean, I had guys like Jerry Collins and George Smith that I wanted to really be defensive player like George Smith and poach balls and jackal, or be aggressive and go forward with Jerry Collins. So those two were really idols, and how I wanted to emulate my game around, and ultimately playing against both of them and becoming friends with both of them, and then becoming teammates with George in Japan, and playing against them in Super Rugby, teammates, and playing against them again. So I would have to say, pound for pound and skill wise and everything else, it would definitely be George Smith.
Yeah.
And he's a great guy. I mean, he's not just on the field, off the field. He's just a class guy, and always enjoy spending time with people. So balanced lifestyle, definitely earn a lot of points.
Yeah. Now, you earned a couple of big awards from your playing days: American Rugby Player of the Decade 2000 to 2009, Member of the Team of the Decade 2010, 2019. It's great to win individual awards like that. I'm sure you'll credit your teammates, but those are still really nice awards to receive.
Yeah, I mean, it's about sort of, you look back at awards, and I mean, every test match I played, that's an award, because it's nothing's guaranteed in life, a spot on a team or starting position. So those awards are just a little bit shinier than the ones that the other games I played for America, sevens or 15s. So yeah, I mean, it means a lot to my family. They're very proud, and daughter and friends, but I mean, it's goal setting was never being like, oh, I want to be on team of the decade. It was about how can I compete and give my best in that jersey for that next game, and how can I prepare the team, and how can I do that. So those are just kind of those fell in place without being on those goals, and I'm a very goal oriented person, so it's just kind of benefit on that.
Yeah, you mentioned your family a couple of times. I know Chris, you followed in his footsteps, and then Harry and Robin, we see them all over the world. I mean, they were always there. They must have meant a lot to you, in your career.
Yeah, I mean, the support staff I had throughout. I mean, my parents, their vision of me going to university for the year, and then after that first year, taking a semester off to live in South Africa, and then taking another and going back to school, and then taking another semester off to play in the Rugby World Cup, and ultimately leaving university for a trial for a possibility of a contract in New Zealand. They and then traveling around the world, 10 times to watch me in all my Rugby World Cups, if it was under 19s, if it was tours. My parents are, I'm very blessed, and to have them make those sacrifices to sort of be the team family. My team mom, and everybody loves her, and she loves everybody. So it was really great to have that, and that was a bit of a driving force for me as well, of maybe playing for so long, because even when I did retire after 15 years, they did kind of be like, well, why are you retiring? Like, what are we going to do now? Like, we want to go to the World Cup. We want to go to this. And I was just like, oh man, they don't have to wake up after a test match and try to walk around being all sore. So, but they also understood it.
That's funny. Hey, you played professionally in South Africa, New Zealand, the UK, Japan. Was there a place or a team that stood out over your career that you really, really enjoyed?
I'm extremely, lucky and fortunate to have those opportunities to play professional rugby, in all those countries, and each of them have a special place for me. But New Zealand, I could live in New Zealand. Just the people, the rugby being so prominent there. South Africa was probably the most fun place to play. Playing Super Rugby, is Ellis Park being your home stadium, and just the history there. And then Japan was just completely different from everybody else. And I could see myself living in New Zealand or South Africa, but Japan, I knew it was only going to be a certain amount of years. It turned out to be 5 years, but I always wanted to make the most of it. So I really, really enjoyed myself, on and off the field. Getting to know the culture, the food, and then my last overseas contract in England, it was great. It was short, and I kind of opted out of my last year of the contract because those winters are so long up in the Northeast England. But it remained close to a lot of those teammates, and ultimately, had a good balanced life over there.
I'm sure a lot of people would be interested. What's the hardest competition? The one that's hardest on your body, mentally, physically?
Yeah, I think probably my years in South Africa, because I was playing Super Rugby, Currie Cup, and international rugby. So, playing, 34, 36 games a year at that intensity. So I would probably say Super, in South Africa. So Super Rugby, because it has that speed and that physicality. Currie Cup has more of that physicality than the Super Rugby, but not the finesse. But nothing really compares to test match rugby. I mean, even if it's USA Canada or USA Uruguay or USA, Australia, New Zealand, you have it's a big level up.
Looking at all your tours, was there a favorite? How many tours you been on?
Oh my God, I wouldn't even know where to count. From age grade to social, and that's the big thing now. My whole career has come around in circle. I've really enjoyed that social aspect of it now, of giving back to the game, of if it's clinics or local teams, playing in tournaments, if it's Aspen, or if it's in Hong Kong or Kuala Lumpur, or anywhere in the world, Dubai. So all these tournaments, for the fun of the game and that balance after playing such a long career is definitely rewarding. So I could not pick out the best tour, because the most proud would probably be a World Cup. But the most fun would probably be something like Dubai or Hong Kong. So,
right.
I could talk about the stories in the World Cups, but I probably can't talk about the stories in those other places.
Now, after your playing career, you've served in different administrative roles after your playing days. What was that transition like from being a player to kind of being behind the scenes?
I took on the seat at the board of directors for USA Rugby while I was still playing. So, learning the systems and sort of the governance and the politics behind a lot of things, it answered a lot of questions that I had through those first dozen or so years. And I wanted to, make a difference on the players, the boys and girls that are playing, and the men and women that are ultimately, representing USA Rugby. So learning a lot, with people on the board, and ultimately not wanting to be sort of a yes sir, just agree with everything. I wanted to, stir the ship and not just vote yes because everybody else is. It's about, finding out that balance and knowing where rugby is on the grand scale of things in America, but how can we treat our athletes, better? There's definitely been some changes, but we still have a long way to go.
And recently, you started the Todd Clever Foundation. Tell us about why you created that. Tell us about some of the programs you support and the whole process of getting it started.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, rugby is such a passion of mine, and if it was playing international or socially, I always want to get amongst the community and play a touch game, or how can I help out in any way, if it's helping a fundraiser, or if it's help coaching, or connecting the dots. So I've always wanted to have this, and I waited till I retired to create the Todd Clever Foundation, where uplifts and unites the rugby community, providing opportunities for athletes, coaches, teams, facilities, and most importantly, instilling the sport's exceptional values. And I think that's passion, teamwork, enjoyment, respect, sportsmanship, and discipline. So we're creating a lot of good young men, good young women, for their communities, and we're really focusing on being diverse and inclusive, because that's where the sport really relies, in that. So being able to really get out in the communities and help teams fundraise or give grants to jerseys. So we've done dozens and dozens of teams kits. We've done 1,000 or so balls. We're working with cities and Parks and Rec to build rugby fields. I mean, that's one thing that I always love traveling to, England or New Zealand or South Africa or anywhere. You're just driving down the road and you see goalposts, and it just kind of lightens up. And in America, we don't have that. So if we're able to start fundraising and start helping and making those good relationships with those Parks and Rec around the country, in each of the cities, I can see it very feasible. So it's just more of a passion project and giving a lot of time, but it's really, really rewarding for myself.
Well, great. We appreciate you giving back. Now, do you still play on occasion? You talk about, I know you've been in Aspen recently. You still playing?
Oh, I mean, the boots aren't too dusty. So, there's there's penciling in dates for Dubai, playing some tens. Bermuda's always a good time. So who knows? I mean, there's a few tournaments a year that is hard to, have a bit of a rubber arm when it comes to go into it. So easy to take those trips on.
Now, Todd, throughout looking back on your whole career, what are you most proud of?
Man, I mean, that's a tough question. I mean, I don't want to be selfish on the pride of it, but it's about seeing probably a lot of my teammates I played with for years and seeing them develop into the men and the husbands and the fathers and me included. Rugby really instilled those core values on me and a lot of my teammates. So just the kind of man that rugby turned me into, and being able to give back and being the best father I can be, being the best husband I can be, for that. So it's not just in between the lines. It's kind of the whole thing.
And finally, last question: what's it mean to be inducted in the U.S. Rugby Hall of Fame?
Yeah, it's a huge honor, and I know that we've talked before, and a lot of people ask, and it goes to a lot of dedication, heart, and sacrifice that were made. But I had the time of my life, and now I'm able to give that passion back to the younger generation. I mean, it means so much to my family, and I'm so happy for them because all their sacrifice that they made. And just being around in the same room, with the other inductees and the people that came before me, I just thank them so much, and hopefully we can continue laying that pathway for our national teams to hopefully be on that podium soon for the Olympics, and then be in those quarterfinals, semifinals for the World 15 World Cup. So great honor, happy to receive this. But my work's not done yet in the rugby world.
Okay, congratulations on behalf of the rugby community. Congratulations on a great career. Thank you for giving back and continuing to give back with your foundation and other endeavors. And we wish you the best of luck in those endeavors.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Liz.
Well, folks, that's going to do it for another edition of our With You podcast. We want to thank Todd Clever for joining us today, for making the time. We'll have more With You podcast in the future, especially in the build-up to the U.S. Rugby Hall of Fame induction ceremony sponsored by Penn Mutual. Please go to our website, sign up for our electronic newsletter at usrugbyfoundation.org. And if you want more information about the Hall of Fame weekend and those events, go to usrugbyfoundation.org/Hall of Fame. Until next time, everyone, stay safe.